All right, so in today's episode, we've covered a lot. We actually dived into the world of resident DJing. We probably went a little bit deeper than we initially intended with that one. Then we started going into how to start producing on a surface level. And yeah, I really enjoyed chatting about that, especially, trying to give a little bit of motivation for the people that might be stuck or just starting out. Another one of my favorite talking points from today was talking about internet money and the revolution between, labels versus independent music, which was, really interesting to get into. So with that said, I hope you guys enjoy this episode and let's get straight into it.
So, Jake, how is your day going today?
Day's going good today. It's been a productive start. We've kicked a few goals and recorded a YouTube tutorial for the new Ableton 11, which came out this week, which I'm super excited about. Other than that, man, a little bit of mixing and mastering work. How's your day going so far?
Yeah, not too bad. Worked last night, so a little bit wrecked, to be honest. Tried to get up early, but running on about 5.5 hours sleep, so it was hard to kick myself in gear. Had some Chinese tutoring in the morning, which takes a bit of a toll on the brain, so second coffee in now, but we're charging, baby.
I like that, man. I like that. So last night when you played your set, what set times did you play last night?
Played 9 till 11:30. It was a bit of a weird one. Not many people for the first half an hour, and then picked up by 11:30 was decent. Still obviously a lot of room to improve, but good feedback on the night, which is always good, and just trying to play different music just for my own peace of mind. Otherwise you go a bit crazy playing the same stuff all the time.
That's actually a really good point because, you worked last night and fortunately I didn't, but I do work tonight and tomorrow night. And when we say work, we're talking about DJing in a nightclub.
Yeah.
So this is how we sort of keep our income to keep doing what we're doing basically behind the scenes right now. And I guess a good question for you, man, is actually how do you keep your work-life balance? Like how do you balance your late nights with your, because I know we get in here pretty early through the day. So what would you say is the key to your balance?
I think one of the biggest things is having a bit of a routine. Like I'm very much of the opinion that I have to hit gym a certain amount of times a week. And if I don't hit that, I'm really frustrated. So that I try to structure my days around ensuring that I can at least get an hour gym session in and then at least have some time at home just chilling with the girlfriend before I have to do work or I have to do something else. But yeah, it definitely can be hard at times to fit everything in when, you're trying to set yourself goals and then some of those goals just aren't achievable in the time that you have. So
I feel that we definitely are. I think one of the best things we did last week was actually getting that goals board that we put up in the studio that's out of shot right now. But basically...
Trade secrets.
Yeah. Basically what we have on this bad boy is, I guess, pretty much what is priority to us and what can be essentially outsourced, like we've done a lot of the building in the back end of what we're doing with 17 Online, but I think we were getting too stuck down in this sort of things. And I'm the same like you, like a creature of routine. And I think that's the only way this year that, well, not this year, but probably for the last 12 months, I'd say that I've really, upped my game because I used to sleep in till 10, 11 and I'd only be DJing maybe 3 nights a week. And I'd be like, oh no, that's just my body clock. When really that was probably just a bullshit excuse for just having bad discipline and not actually, committing to getting up early. I'm getting better every week. If you've probably noticed, Andy, I fucking got in here early this morning, went to gym at 7 a.m. So we're flipping shit up around here, which is really cool. And because of it, I feel so much more, focused on the task at hand. So it's 100%. Good, man.
And how are you finding the resident DJ life? Because obviously at the moment, COVID, for those that haven't seen COVID, that are living under a rock, but it's shaken the industry pretty hard and made touring virtually impossible for the most part, especially internationally, but even within Australia where we both currently reside. So how are you finding playing the same kind of place every week?
Honestly, man, I'm grateful. I'm grateful to have a solid foundation to be able to come week to week, even though I guess in myself I feel like it can become a little bit monotonous. So I guess for me it's more about, all right, how can I make this fun for me now while still sticking within the guidelines of essentially what we have to play? Because I think between being a resident DJ compared to, say, a touring artist, you play a show. When I go and play a J-Dub show, it's music I'm really passionate about and shit I love and hype as shit. Whereas, you know, a residency, that a touring show might be only an hour, residency 3 hours. So I guess I'm grateful to have income at the moment, but I'm very, very high key excited for opening up some borders. And like I think the hardest thing about touring right now, even on the Australian front, is it's just so inconsistent. Like Melbourne last weekend, I had friends that had shows booked in Melbourne. One of my friends actually got stuck in Melbourne for 2 weeks. Because if they came back to Queensland, they'd have quarantine for 2 weeks, and they had a show following, so they're just like, book an Airbnb, like, fuck, we're stuck here. So yeah, it's pretty crazy right now. It's very inconsistent, but yeah, grateful to have a residency, man. So
yeah, so like obviously there's no knowing exactly when we're going to be able to go back to touring and be able to push you more of a J-Dub on the J-Dub project front, but what, like, I know what you're doing behind the scenes working towards that, but like maybe give the people that are listening a bit of an insight to what you're working towards to ensure that when COVID eases up, you're ready to step miles ahead of everyone else in the game.
Hell yeah. Yeah, so pretty much like something that I'm really proud of during the whole period of COVID. So basically from, I actually remember the date because I wrote it down. It was January 16, 2020. I was just like, all right, this is when I sort of start my fitness journey. And for that for me was like a massive thing of like, hey, I got really disciplined from that point. And COVID hit, I think in March, Australia, it got really affected. Yeah. And for me, I acted like nothing changed in my life. Because I still come here every day. We don't get paid to sit in the studio. Like, one day it's going to pay off, but essentially you're working for free. So my world didn't change that much dramatically, except for the stop of the income and touring and stuff like that. So basically, in a way, COVID was such a great routine and disciplinary sort of practice for me, because in that time I leveled up my skills in mixing and mastering. I took on a lot more mixing and mastering for other artists and stuff like that, as well as I was already teaching people one-on-one lessons and stuff like that. And then, you know, I was sort of where I was in my career was about to leave in April in 2020 to head over to LA, and just working on placement and working over there. And basically how I was planning on floating myself was actually through these one-on-one lessons.
Yeah.
And then as we kept going, we sort of saw that like I wanted to make this more scalable and have more of my creative time back. And yeah, I think that's kind of where you come to this picture as well. So this ties back into what you've been doing over COVID, because we've both been working, simultaneously, both on the OSO project. But yeah, sorry, I kind of tried off on that. What I've been doing for J-Dub is I've just been working like crazy. Like, honestly, I spent the last year experimenting with my sound a lot. I was writing hip-hop, pop rock.
Pop rock.
Yeah.
Punk rock.
Pop punk. Hip hop. Literally everything. And like, I think mixing and mastering a lot of other people's stuff too. I got a really good perspective on a lot of different genres and stuff like that. So now I feel like these last couple of months I've been super dialed into really where the J-Dub sound's starting to come through, and I think I'm really starting to find that, and you can listen to pretty much anything I make now, and I think I'm having a bit of a unique sound coming through, which is something I'm really stoked about that I've been trying to find for years. So yeah, on the back of this, we got a couple of releases banked up, and we're actually, I don't want to give too much away in this episode, but we're making moves.
I think we're in a good place.
Yeah. So, what about yourself, man? For someone who went through the same COVID epidemic as the rest of the world, how did you treat it?
Well, it was a bit of a weird experience because I was finishing my law degree at the time, so I was doing my placement, so PLT, the practical legal component of the law degree, which you do after you finish the degree. So I was doing that part, working at a law firm on the Gold Coast, Australia. Was going great. Not necessarily the field of law that I necessarily wanted to go into, but it was a really good experience, great team, had an awesome time. And then COVID hit, and obviously a lot of the businesses started struggling financially. So I was able to, luckily they kept me on, and I was able to finish my placement there. And then as soon as I did, all the nightclubs were closed, so I didn't really have an income, and then I got an opportunity to go down to Victoria and manage a hotel in one of the ski resorts. So I went.
It's a random one, man. But
it was it was an experience. So went and managed a team of about 12 people, 12 basically full-time staff, and then about 6 or 7 part-time staff in Victoria. Worked there for about 6 months during the COVID lockdowns, and then returned just after everything started easing up. And then when I returned, the clubs on the Gold Coast started reopening, so I jumped straight back into there, and then basically full time into OSO from that period. So I think I just used it as a time to try things that I would never do, because if COVID wasn't a thing, I wouldn't have thought to stop DJing for 6 months and just go and do that experience. But because I couldn't DJ, and I was like, okay, well, I'm either going to sit at home and, you know, twiddle my thumbs for a bit, and then maybe try to learn different things. Like, at least if I go over, I'm going to learn to, step up and manage people.
And you're thrown in the deep end straight away.
100%.
So,
I had not much management experience. I had experience in hotels, and on the financial side, I had done commerce through uni with a finance major, so I did understand all the P&Ls and the bookkeeping side of things, but the management side I had no idea. So it was a great experience to basically come in as one of the youngest people there and be managing people that are kind of twice my age.
Yeah, I would have hated you if I was one of them people. For sure.
Exactly. So,
But no, that's sick, man. Like, because in that role you have to step up a lot, as you know, and you're going to be pushed outside of your comfort zone. So year of growth, like that's huge. Yeah. And I noticed personally with you. You came home with this whole other drive, man. Like, it was really sick to see. I think it really just cemented the fact that you're never going to be an employee anywhere, and that you had that entrepreneurial.
Entrepreneurial.
Yeah, you had
I can't even pronounce it well either.
Damn, dude.
It's a struggle word.
you had that drive, and I think that's and I think we really align really well on that. So I feel like since you've been back, we've been non-stop, which has been really good.
Yeah, exactly. I think we're both in the same headspace, and both of the opinion, like, yes, we can be doing other things, but for us, in our mindset, this is the only option, and this is going to work because it's the only option, and we won't stop until it works. So
we don't have backup plans, really.
Like, it's going to work, and it's just a matter of time before we start getting everything in place. But
100%.
I think our conversations the last couple of weeks, and just adjusting our direction and just ensuring that we're putting time into the right places and progressing at a pace that makes sense has been really good. So I think we're really up to a good start.
Perspective is amazing, and I think that was the biggest thing, is like, we have very high targets for everything we're sort of doing, which has been really good, but it can also be counterproductive when you're not hitting them goals, and especially when you're hard on yourself like we are. It can kind of suck, but like, the cool thing about it now is I feel like, we're a little bit more dialed in, and we've sort of lowered the bar, but at the same time we're just working twice as hard on the other things to make up for that point of difference. So it's been really, really solid, man. So that's been pretty much our little rundown of what we're doing, without actually saying what the heck we do. That's the backstory of 17 Online so far.
Yeah, 100%. And you were mentioning before, like, a lot about how, you've spent a lot of time experimenting with production and, just getting better. Obviously, this has been a great time for anyone that's wanting to learn production to get into it. So if people still haven't had the chance to get into it, how would you suggest someone start?
Hell yeah, man. Like, this is the biggest thing, is it's just like going to the gym for the first time. I'm sure everyone can relate. The hardest thing is just getting there. So how do you get there? Like, you're like, okay, you can make a million excuses in the world. I got a shit computer. It's too expensive to download Ableton or Fruity Loops or whatever you're producing on. But literally, it is so easy to get started these days, and the only person you're playing is yourself. Like, if you don't get started, like, you can literally go to ableton.com right now. I'm not even endorsed by them. But you can go...
Yes.
Yes.
See us up, Ableton.
Yeah. Boys at Ableton, look out for us. But like, you can literally go on ableton.com right now, start a 90-day free trial of Ableton Live 11. So it's the newest, like, version of Ableton. It is incredible, just because I've been checking it out this week. But I've been on Ableton now for 8 years, I think. And, I started like everyone did, and found a way to get a copy of it without actually buying it. But like, you don't have to do that shit anymore. Like, they're making it literally so accessible for the average person. Like, you get the full version of it for free for 90 days. Like, that's incredible. So my tip to anyone wanting to start, just ableton.com, download that shit, get onto YouTube and just start searching some stuff, like how to make a beat or something like that. And sort of build from there. And I guess, like, while I'm on this tangent, actually, is another one I get a lot is, like, people will say, oh, it's all right for you or something, and it's just like, you got a studio to work in. Like, I don't have that. I'm like, fuck that. I could literally work on this MacBook with my, shitty busted Apple like corded headphones in. Like it's not about what you have, it's about how you use it. So I think that to me is huge. But this sort of like brings it to another thing is like I don't know why this is such a thing that gets brought up, but it's like studio monitors versus headphones and stuff like that. Like what should I do? I can't afford a studio. I can't afford to treat my room. Like literally you start with headphones and just a semi-decent computer. It doesn't have to be a Mac.
Yeah.
It have to be anything.
As long as it doesn't crash every 10 minutes.
Yeah. I started on something that had 8 gigabyte of RAM, and you just learn how to be more efficient with your channels.
Yeah.
you got to freeze and flatten a lot more stuff, but you make it work. If you want to make it work, you will make it work.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah, that's big for me.
Yeah. I mean, like, even I have the full version of Ableton, and I'm not a producer by any means, but, like, when I first started DJing, I was like, oh, you know, like, naturally it comes hand in hand. I want to learn how do I do my own mashups, how do I make my own intro, outro edits, because it wasn't always there. And then it was naturally just intrigued me into trying to learn production, and obviously I got to a point where I was like, I don't want to be a DJ producer anymore. Like, I'm happy just to DJ. I don't want to be a producer. So I stopped learning because I just refocused my attention. But like the reason I was able to buy it is because I wanted to be a producer. So I just saved $25 a week and just put it into a bank account. Like, it's not that hard. If you like, you need to invest in your career. Like, even if it seems like, I think it's like what, about $900 for the full version.
I think so. Yeah, right? Maybe 900 US.
Yeah, 900 US. Like, yes, it's a big sum of money up front, but like if you just save $10-20 a week and you've got the 90-day free trial in the meantime, like before you know it, you can have the money there. You just got to want to.
It's a tax write-off.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
You know, it ties back in anyway. So it's crazy. Like I guess like that's one thing. I guess we notice a lot just because like if there's ever an excuse, and I think that's the advantage of us, you know, being in this together is. We'll call each other on our bullshit in a way. Yeah. It would be just like, oh, I can't do this because it's like, why can't you do that? Yeah. And it's like, figure it the fuck out.
Yeah,
like that's
so true.
So yeah, I think basically if you want to be a music producer, you got to like solving problems. Like that's all it is. Problem solving is music producing. Yeah. So yeah, they go hand in hand, man. So yeah, but get started. That's my biggest tip. Just start. Don't wait. There's no perfect time. That shit doesn't exist. Start. Yeah. Like yeah.
And I know today, obviously, Ableton 11 came out yesterday?
2 days ago?
2 days ago. So I know I was watching you filming your tutorial for Ableton 11, which will be out by the time this podcast comes out.
Yeah, it'll be out.
So check it out on J-Dub's YouTube. But do you want to tell us a little bit about the cool things you've found on there so far? Maybe just a bit of a brief insight.
Yeah, for sure, man. I haven't got to dive into it as much as I've wanted to at this point, just because I was working on 2 records this week, and I didn't want to change the DAW from 10 to 11 just in case I got errors while I'm in this creative stage of it, and it's getting so close. So, but I did get to have a play on it, and I think the biggest game changer so far has been the ability to actually put your scale in the piano roll. You can literally choose from like 35 different sorts of scales, like, you know, your natural minors, you know, like pentatonic scales, like all them sort of scales are already built in there. Yeah, and it shows you the keys. Like when I first started, like it sounds ridiculous, but one of my friends told me, I was like, how do you know what a key is? Like, how do you stay in key? And I literally used to put like them little sticky dot note things on my keyboard. And then that's how I used to play. And that's how I used to figure out if I was in, which is ridiculous. And now Ableton's just like streamlined the shit past that. And it's incredible. So yeah, I'm really excited to be sharing that tutorial with everyone, and go from there.
It's actually really interesting though. It kind of ties back to the whole problem solving thing. Like you just said, you didn't know where the key was and you didn't know how to do it. So your solution to that problem was literally putting things down on your keyboard so you knew which were the right ones. And I think that's the biggest thing that all ties back. Like, that you can make an excuse for something, or you can find the solution to the problem. Yeah. Like, or you can get help finding the solution. And I think that's the biggest divide in the industry right now, is there's a lot of people just complaining about not having a solution instead of spending the time finding that solution.
And on that note, there's a lot of people shortcutting the industry too. And, you know, I think my mission has just been to drive a wedge between the bullshit and the real. And like, you know, I think we're on a very similar wavelength there with OSO, and it's really, we want to create a divide in the industry. You know, not everyone's going to be stoked about us, and that's fine. But we're going to weed out the people who are, you know, getting shit ghosted, and the people who are real artists. And that's what I really want to see in 2021 is like real artists shining through again, not just because there's some, you know, influencer with some bullshit following or something that can mix 2 tracks together. Like, it's not hard. Like, you know, fucking rub your belly, pat your head, you're a DJ. Like, it's not that fucking hard. Like, so yeah, it'll be really cool to see like the real artistry come through. And I think that's yeah, what I'm on a mission to do anyway is really pull through.
Yeah, definitely. And that's really interesting.
So that's actually interesting. Like on that note, so when we start talking about real DJs and stuff like that, what would you say to any up and comer? Like a common question I'm sure you get a lot, I get a lot as well, is how do I get into clubs? How do you get your start? Like what would you suggest is the route to go down in 2021 for approaching a club and getting a gig in the club?
Yeah, it's actually a really interesting question. It does come up a lot. And I think it really comes down to stepping outside of the industry and looking in. So clubs are run as a business. So first and foremost, a club has to make money. So the reason a club will bring a new DJ on instead of their existing DJs is because that DJ is going to ultimately make them more money, or the club owner doesn't really care and really likes that person.
Yeah.
So
the point of difference, like there's something to shake it up. Yeah.
Exactly. So if you're looking to get into the industry, you've got to bring a point of difference, whether that's you're a better DJ, you've got better music that no one else has that everyone likes, or you're bringing more people to the club. So it really just comes down to what can you do that the current DJs can't do, or what extra steps are you willing to do, or are you more reliable, or like what else can you bring to the table that the current guys and girls that are in the club aren't bringing.
And like that's my attitude, man. It's like you should be hungry. If you're not hungry, like I want someone to outdo me. I want someone to be better than me. Like if you think you're better than me, fucking show me up, please. Like please, because that means everyone steps up. And that's the coolest shit about this. And I kind of feel like that competitive edge in the I don't know if it's just coming from like a sports background of like, you know, like one-on-one sports, like racing motocross and that sort of stuff where it's like, it's just a you thing. It's not like, you know, you don't have other people to rely on. It's just you. So I think I've always had that mentality of like, if you want something, you get it. So that's what I want to see more of in this industry, man. I want to see more people coming through hungry and putting current DJs on their ass. Like, because it's the funny thing every year, your shot, there's always a bunch of old head DJs that are like, oh, this next generation, fuck this, fuck that. And it's like, I don't know if we can curse on this podcast, but I am.
Yeah.
Well, we might bleep that. But
it's our podcast, we can do what we want.
Yeah, facts. But yeah, like literally every year there's some old heads that are just like, oh, these your shot DJs coming in, taking our jobs, blah, blah, blah. Like, or just any up and comers. And it's just like, dude, if you're threatened by a kid that has been DJing for 6 weeks, how complacent in your career are you?
Yeah.
Like, that's scary. That's a reflection of you, not the Your Shot Corporation or that kid. Like, I remember when I came through, I got a bit of hate because I was a Your Shot kid that came through and I just worked harder. So naturally, and most of them DJs that were in the scene at the time when I came up, they're not DJing anymore and I made a career of it. So it's just about, being hungry and, you know, not be threatened, just be ready to work, man. Like, it's not an easy game.
No, it's not.
No.
Like I think the misconception is it's easy to DJ, but it's not easy to be a DJ that has longevity.
Yeah.
In a local scene.
Exactly.
Like, if you want to be a resident DJ for a certain period of time, you've got to put the things in place to ensure that, one, you're set where you currently are, and two, if something goes wrong with where you currently set up where you are, you can quickly change to another place.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I think a lot of people don't consider is, you know, they sit, and whilst everything's all well and good one day, you never know what's going to happen the next day, and you've got to make sure that you're one of the top DJs around. Otherwise, when that club goes to crap and everyone's looking for a new job, you're at the bottom of the list, and that can be the
It does.
the end of it.
Speaking from personal experience, I know for me, I've hopscotched around clubs a lot, just honestly chasing higher fees and more money or a better role in the club and stuff like that. And, you know, a few venues I've actually I'm a lot more cautious these days, but a lot of venues as a resident that I jumped ship to fell on their ass because they were new venues and they had big budgets, and I was like, all right, scoop the bag, let's go. And then
secure the bag.
Secure the bag. Like the worst thing is like if you're a DJ in the scene right now, don't talk shit about other clubs, other DJs. Like if you're talking shit about another club, just think you could be on your ass tomorrow and that club, the club that you're talking shit about is never going to have you on again.
Yeah,
like,
that's such a good point. I've
oh
seen
my
so
God.
much.
And like just the sheer ego and arrogance around it, it's like, bruh, you're a resident DJ, you're not at Tomorrowland. So I think a lot of that shit needs to be nipped in the bud. Like, but yeah, I think that people that are always going to have longevity are working hard and they're humble. And that's the biggest thing for me. And that's something I learned when I first started. Work hard, stay humble. If you got that down, you know, just be a likable person.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's got a lot to, and that's another big point is, you can get DJ gigs by being the same quality DJ as the next guy, but if you're a nice person, always saying hello, everyone likes you, like, you're going to get the gig over the person that people don't want to be around.
100%.
Because like it's all about the vibe that you bring. It's not only, who are you bringing, what music are you playing, but if you're standing behind the decks and just looking like a sad sack and you don't want to be there, then everyone that watches you is also not going to want to be there.
Yeah.
Like, I dance behind the decks a little bit and just vibe out to my own stuff because when people walk in and there's no one in the club, at least I'm having a bit of a vibe so it doesn't look like it's just music playing and no one cares.
Exactly, man. And I feel like that's some of the art that's lost to it, man.
Yeah.
Is people that are literally there to, quote unquote, secure the bag.
Yeah.
So, and it's funny, man. But then, there's a lot of people that are content with being resident DJs, and I'm not hating on that. Like, it's a great avenue. It's like a really fun job. But that's what it is. It's a job at the end of the day. And, you are still working for a company that wants to make money. And, a lot of your career is orientated around that. So, I think that's like my notes on resident DJing, which is a big divide in between that and touring. And that's something that that you and I have seen a little bit lately is people think they can go straight headlining with no credibility.
Yeah.
Like, you wanna talk on that one a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think that like you said, like, stay humble and work hard.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest issue is people will make up excuses why they didn't get into places. And yes, a lot of the time it could be a situation where you didn't get that residency gig or you didn't get that place on a little festival or whatever it is because they don't like you, for the person that booked doesn't like you for whatever reason. It could be how you look, it could be what you act like, or it could be just they've just got some sort of grudge against you.
Yeah.
Like, that happens a lot. Like, I'm not taking away from that.
Life
and yes,
in
that
general,
is frustrating. That's life. Like, people are just going to hold grudges, right?
Yeah.
But also at the same time, if you're a DJ that's never played anywhere and, you're making excuses why you can't get into a certain venue or can't get into a certain festival or whatever it is, it's like, I think you need to take a step back and look and go, well, why didn't I get into this? Like, what did I do wrong? Did I go to that venue and listen to the music that was getting played there? Did I listen back to my mix that I sent in or whatever you sent in to the person that's booking the nightclub? Is that mix just as good as what the people that are in there are playing? Am I bringing people to the venue? I think that's the biggest thing, is just taking a step back and just ensuring that, you are actually ready for that gig.
Yeah.
And if you weren't ready and you thought that you were ready, then take a step back again and go, okay, well, how do I improve? Like, how do I ensure that I can, make myself more appealable when I apply again in a couple months? Because don't apply again in like a week, because it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But like, how do I step back and improve myself so the next time I apply, they can't say no? But if you get rejected from somewhere and then you blame it on everything else but yourself, it's like, well, you're never going to improve and you just look stupid when you do that.
Yeah, it looks ridiculous. And like, not only that, it's just hold yourself accountable. Like, we all stuff up, man, but we all, you learn and you improve from it. And that's just life. So and I think that's like one thing in this industry that a lot of people starting out, and I know that we're very on this residency wave right now for our first one and sort of talking about this, but I think like one thing to remember is you got to have really thick skin.
Yeah.
I've had managers say to my face, like, hey, you're playing like shit. If you want to keep your job, you change what you're doing. And it's like, and then you kind of get to this, like, I don't know, like, the ego in you can almost be like, nah, fuck this. So, me and my 5 friends that are sitting behind the booth, they love this shit. Everyone loves this shit. They just don't know yet.
Yeah.
That's the dumbest shit ever. Like, don't be naive like I was, like that. Like, I remember when I first started, but it only took nearly losing my first residency to go, oh, okay, hey, take a step back. And like you were saying before, look at it like a business. What's generating income for the business? Be smart, add value, bring value. Like, I think that's more about what we're trying to do with this podcast as well, is actually bring value to the people who, want to work. Like, a lot of people hear this and they'll be like, oh, yeah, cool. Or they'll be like, oh, I already know that. And it's just like, listen again, because maybe you don't know that, or you do know that, but you're not taking any action.
Practicing it, yeah.
So, but to switch gears up a little bit, I actually saw this tweet yesterday, which I thought was pretty cool. So, Taz Taylor, the founder of Internet Money, in the studio with Chainsmokers.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy, eh?
Yeah.
Taking over.
I'm very curious on that wave. Like, do you think I'm sort of like just making assumptions based on that tweet?
Yeah.
Is do you reckon Internet Chainsmokers crossing over, doing a little bit of hip hop in the downtime or something like that? Because Internet Money is responsible for the hits like Lemonade, a lot of Lil Tecca, Kid Laroi, and most famously Nick Mira working on all of Juice WRLD's albums. So, yeah, what's your take on the Internet Money wave right now, man? Because I know I'm a fan.
Yeah, 100%. I think that there definitely must be some sort of co-production going on, whether anything will come out of it. It was probably a good clout post to make, just because everyone's probably boxing Taz into the hip hop world, which is nothing wrong with that. He's killing it.
Yeah.
But it's probably a bit of a clout, like, hey, I'm not just hip hop. I can do EDM, or I can do this or that. So whether or not it's him helping with EDM stuff out of nowhere, or maybe it's the other way around, who knows? But I think it was probably just a bit of a clout post. But hey, like, it's a smart post. Like, we'd probably be doing the same thing.
Yeah, man, 100%. And I like that about Taz Taylor. I feel like he's one of the guys that really brings the people together in the room. Like he is, the overall producer, and he's the guy that's like, oh, okay, this guy does melodies. Like, he's got a Nick Mira who's a freak producer, and then he's got like a little Tecca that can produce and rap. Like, and he's bringing all these people into one room, and I think this whole Internet Money realm right now is pretty crazy.
Yeah, 100%. I think that it's really hitting into the sphere of labels and independent artists and the whole divide, because I think for a couple of years, at least from what I've seen, it was kind of like Ross versus the world in the sense that Ross was the big figurehead / spear leading the independent movement, especially 100%. In hip hop. But now you see things like Internet Money come out, which I don't know how exactly you define whether it's a label or a collective, but it just kind of is showing that you don't need these big record labels to have hits to start with, and to get placements and to get big publishing deals. Like, it just goes to show that you just don't need it anymore. Yeah. Like, yes, I'm not saying that there isn't a benefit, but you don't need to have it.
100% agree, man. Like, it's so crazy. And I think, like, even talking on the wave and tying it back to EDM and what we're doing right now, like, we're looking at, like, my next single, and we're not even looking at labels. Like, we literally don't give a shit at this point. Like, we're like, okay, unless the label has, a far bigger following. So obviously, like, in Australia, there's not many labels which I would say are going to benefit us. Like,
and the direction we're trying to push you,
exactly. And like, I'm not a big artist at this point, but like, I believe in the potential. If I didn't, I wouldn't be here. So like, it's crazy. Yeah, exactly, bro. Exactly. So for anyone who doesn't understand mine and Andrew's relationship also, so he is my artist manager as well as business partner and co-founder at 17 Online. So yeah, we got a very involved relationship there. So yeah, jumping back to that. So literally we talked about it and we're like, all right, next one we're going to Independent. And just looking at the way that everything's on trend on the internet right now, like, it's not crazy to think that we can't achieve the same amount of streams and stuff like this. This might be me being naive again and just being like, if they can do it, we can do it. But like, I truly believe in the music I'm writing right now. And, I believe in your abilities and everything that we're pushing in. I see the work we're putting in, day out. Like, I can't imagine a label, apart from their connections that they have that we don't have just yet, but I can't imagine them outworking us right now. And like, I feel very confident about that.
Yeah, I think that we're at a point where, we've released some of your stuff through labels, and we've definitely considered and weighed up options, but unless, a label hit you up directly or me on your, like, to get to you directly saying, we love his stuff and here's all the things that we can do for you. Yeah. Unless that was the route, like, because if you think about, the general process of hitting up a label, you're reaching out to an A&R who gets thousands of emails a week and saying, here's my one song, because you shouldn't send a list of like 30 songs, but here's my one song. Do you like it? Yeah. Which, like, maybe they do, but unless, like, even if they do, that doesn't mean they have to do anything. You're going to get, you're going to sign away at least 50% of your record. So all that money that you self put into promoting it, you're going to basically lose to them when they recoup their initial costs and then take their split. So really, you're going to just end up losing money unless they hard push the record. And the only situation where I can see them hard pushing a record is if they reached out to you because they listened to your back catalogue of music and said, wow, your stuff is crazy. Do you have 5 songs that we can sign some sort of deal and push you? And unless that's happening, I just don't see the value that they're bringing to the table.
Yeah.
Like even some of the big labels that have, you know, millions of followers across all sorts of platforms, you can look at their releases and some of them don't have that many plays.
Yeah.
Whether that's just because they, you know, they didn't, you know, push it, or
there wasn't budget for that one.
There wasn't budget, or whatever it was. Like we can, you know, we've proven all three of your records are about 100K plus now, so it's we can get the plays independently, and because all those plays were us pushing it independently, even though some of them were signed to record labels, so it's like, what, like,
why lose 50%?
Why give away money?
And, you know, like, we are still both learning in this as well. And, you know, maybe in a couple of years, we might look back at this and be like, shit, that was misguided. But I feel for where the industry is right now in 2021, like, I feel like this independent push is real. Like, I remember when I first started, I was like, oh, I want to be a signed artist, you know? Like, I want to sign to this, I want to sign to that. Like, now I'm like, I want to be a successful artist. I don't give a fuck who's distributing it. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's like, I want to be successful and I want the masses to hear my music. I don't want to get pigeonholed into, you know, he releases on this label and this is all he makes. Like, I make everything, man. And, you know, I think that's probably one of the challenges you have as a artist manager, is because you encourage me to do whatever I want, like, musically, and, you know, you'll back the things that you think are good, which I need, because I can really get misguided because I just like being creative.
Yeah.
But that's the crazy thing, man, and I like that, you know, it's power to the producer in 2021, which is sick. And not only that, producing is fucking fun, man. Like, I feel bad for the people who are getting ghosted and stuff, man. Like, you're missing out on one of the greatest, like,
parts of the whole process.
Yeah, like the fun bit, like, you know, like, dude,
like,
crazy.
Actually playing a song that you made live at a festival, like, that must be insane.
Yeah, like, just like, that feeling, man. It's like, man, I remember, like, sitting in my bedroom writing that chord progression, and it's like, it's sick. And then, you know, some people are like, just release another track, it's on XYZ label, and you're just like, dude, we know you don't even produce. You can't fool people in 2021. We got the internet. Like, you just go into song credits on Spotify and you're not even a listed. Like, come on, man. Like, So that's kind of the I guess that's what's really grinding my gears these days. But I don't really pay it much time because I think we're too busy on our own direction, which is really good.
Yeah.
So.
I think it's definitely going to get to the point where there's going to be a lot more collectives. I'm going to call it a collective, like internet money kind of style things, whether it's hip-hop orientated or EDM orientated in different niches or genres of music. I think that's going to be the big uprise, where it's just groups of people that, you know, create a platform, that get a following of that group of people or platform, so that when any song's released, it's like, hey, this song's up to this quality, so it's guaranteed to get the push, and they're going to push the track. Whereas, you know, now some of the bigger labels, it's like the consistency just isn't what it was. So you don't really know what's coming out. So they've lost a lot of the following, I think, of the core fan base. So that's why you don't get those guaranteed plays and you don't get that guaranteed push anymore. Whereas I think now it's going to be like, if a record label wants to sign your stuff, they're going to have to give you a list of all the things they're going to do. Otherwise, you're not even going to consider it. So it is really power to the artist now, I think.
It's really cool, man. And, like, that's the crazy thing we're having a discussion about with a really big producer the other day that we were on Zoom with.
Yeah.
And we're talking to him about, like, some of the, which we will get him on a podcast at some point as well, but we're actually, like, talking about some of the points with one of these major labels which are backed by a major artists in our space. Without giving away all the names, it's really hard tiptoeing around this, but like that major artist has, you know, stepped his face away from the label a little bit, and, you know, it kind of shows because, you know, a lot of people now are just paying for placement on labels and shit, which is kind of crazy, and it's kind of corrupt in this thing, and it kind of takes away a lot of the credibility that initially, you know, these sort of labels were, you know, dreams and goals, and they still are, but, you know, there's a different divide in the industry right now. So it's really cool to see. It's really cool to see that, you know, we can do it independently now.
Yeah, I think I'm really interested to see how everything goes in the next couple of years in regards to people just more so across the board, you know, clubs and festival owners kind of educating themselves more in the sense of who are the actual artists and who are the ones that are, you know, just BSing for a lack of terms. Like, not saying that a lot of artists are, but, you know, a lot of people are signing records to labels now where, you know, they don't really even have any releases out. So how is their first or second record getting on a major label? It just doesn't really make sense. And, you know, there's all these DJ competitions and that sort of thing. And it's a big, huge, controversial topic. But, you know, I understand that one of the reasons why it's such a big thing is because different parts of the world, like China, for example, really take those things as a high regard.
Yeah.
And you can adjust your booking fee depending on your rating on those those rankings, and then also the labels you released on. So it's kind of like waiting for those countries to kind of catch up and understand that, you know, some of these things are just smoke and mirrors, and it's not necessarily a true representation of who's good and who's a good performer, who produces good music, and who's actually legitimate in the industry.
Yeah, and that's 100%. And like when we're speaking on this, we're talking about DJs who release music. I'm not talking about like your like crazy like A-track kind of DJs, which that is a craft in its own. That's a whole different beast, 100%. Man.
There's
like,
some insane DJs
that's a
out there.
DJ, man. Like yeah, that's a big divide between, you know, being like a DMC champ, like compared to you know, being a guy that pretends and gets
plays intro outro edits all day, which I mean, like, we all do it sometimes, so it's like we can't bag too often, but, you know.
Nah, but that's really cool though. But yeah, I guess like another big one is that we're seeing a trend of a lot now. Like I know I listen to on Spotify and stuff like that, stuff like car songs and playlists like that, and I've been noticing a big jump in cover songs and stuff like that. So yeah, well, like I guess, and this slap house thing, I don't really understand it or get around it. To me, it just sounds like kick bass of 2021, which I don't really vibe it, man. But I guess a good question from a legal point of view for yourself is, how are a lot of these people getting away with these cover songs, and what is kind of the structure around that?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a very interesting kind of turn the industry's taken, I would say. There's a few labels or record labels in particular that are like consistently just releasing these covers, and it's just because of the amount of plays that they're getting from them across Spotify and Apple Music and all the streaming services. So essentially what's happening is artists are getting vocalists to re-sing the lyrics of a popular song, and then creating an instrumental that follows a very similar vibe to the original, but maybe it's, you know, at 128 BPM instead of 100, and it has the same elements, it has the same vibe, has a similar chord progression, but it's different. And that's how they justify it as falling into the cover section of copyright instead of being, you know, like a
just a straight rip-off,
like a straight like remix. So it's a very complicated kind of segment, and I think we could probably dive into this on a whole different podcast in itself.
Yeah, I kind of just threw you under the bus there, to be honest.
No, but yeah, but essentially it's legal as long as you fall in the narrow confines of it. I think that we'll find in the next 6 months to a year that there might be some artists that might argue that it's not very legal, and there could be some disputes, but I don't want to say too much, and we'll break it down properly on a podcast episode itself, and maybe we'll get a full-time lawyer in as well to confirm.
Yeah. That's the Taz Taylor approach. Yeah, we'll let them use the samples, then we'll cop it later when the song blows up, which is pretty cool. Yeah. So like, yeah, definitely if you're first time hearing about Internet Money, do some research on them guys on YouTube and stuff like that. And, you know, I really believe in their movement. I like what they're doing, and, you know, it's inspired me a lot with what we're doing as well. So
yeah, exactly.
It's super dope to see.
Yeah, definitely. And like, obviously, because at the moment, you know, touring's down, sometimes it can be frustrating because, you know, you can't travel around, you can't do this, you can't do that. So how are you staying motivated to ensure that, you know, you get up every day and you come to the studio and you work?
Well, crazy story. My mum told me, the psychic told her, in June, we're going to find out when we can travel internationally again.
Fantastic.
And shit's going to change. Nah, but on a serious note, honestly, I think because I'm a creature of routine, I'm just in here every day. I'm not making like any money out of this right now, but I just believe in the bigger vision so much that, you know, you couldn't tell me not to come in. I'd find a way. Like, it's just like, I don't really know how to understand the motivation. It's like, you know, I've been doing this too long now. If I was to quit now, I was like, fuck, I got nothing to show for this, man. Like, this is all or nothing. And I think that for me is like, you know, it is kind of hard staying motivated in the sense that, you know, before this, like yourself, like, you know, we had other jobs before we fell into where we are, or not fell, but before we worked into the position that we are.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, I'm looking at it like a lot of my friends who are like tradies and stuff from back in my hometown, and, you know, I'm a carpenter by trade. And, you know, looking at them, and they're hitting these little life goals and stuff like that. Like, you know, they're getting a house, they're settling down, having a family and stuff like that. Meanwhile, I'm EQing this fucking snare in the studio. And it's like, it can be like one of them things where it's just like, shit, like, that can be unmotivating. But I'm just like, at the end of the day, I'm like, I know that I don't want that normal life. And if I did want that normal life, I wouldn't have chose this route. So for me, it's just the self-belief is like out of this control, like out of this world. Like, I just believe in myself so much that this is going to be it. I'm going to make it. You know, I'm going to have that set up in LA or Amsterdam or wherever we decide to take, you know, also HQ and be based for J-Dub and everything that we're doing, man. I just truly believe in the bigger vision, and, you know, that's why I'm just working every day. So, you know, it's better to be prepared with no opportunity than be unprepared with an opportunity. So the day we can go, like, I think you and I are both on a very similar wavelength there. Like, we're ready. So,
yeah, 100%. I think, you know, we've had a few chats about where exactly we want to take the vision. Obviously, that'll probably change slightly as we kind of develop and grow, but I feel like we're both in our minds walking through our compound, like you said, whether it's in LA or Amsterdam, we already can see exactly what's in there. It's just about making the money to get there now.
A massive, like, artist development compound is like the ultimate. And, you know, having like multiple studios, just like this little one that we're in now, but, you know, almost hosting like kind of like an internet money kind of setup where it's like we have multiple producers all in one space. And, you know, this is the movement we're trying to create. Like, we want artistry, like, we want real artists, and we just want to build something out of this world and, you know, really just make this into an absolute monster.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah, I think that's, like, I guess that would be very similar for you. Would that be your motivation right now?
Yeah, I think that right now I'm just, it's been a bit of a, you know, like, we've gone through a bit of a spiral up and down. You know, we had high expectations at the start, and yes, we hit some of the goals, and yes, we didn't hit some of the goals, but I think that readjusting what we're doing and ensuring that, you know, we're building up the whole brand opposed to just trying to, you know, make enough money to get to the next spot so then we can do the next thing. I think that's been a real good focusing point. So like I said, I see us in a compound, whether it's LA, whether it's Amsterdam, or probably both by the end of the day, building artists. We're going to be getting them in whenever they're ready to come in, whether that be friggin' 10 years old or 14 years old. We're getting the new wave of Garrix, we're getting the new wave of Taz Taylor, and we're developing them all the way up, and then giving them the longevity in the music career as well, because that's often the problem. Is I feel like, you know, the lifespan of DJs and producers can often not be that long, so it's ensuring that they're set up so that once they've had their wave, that, you know, they can jump back into that community and then help out and still recoup and kind of stay relevant.
Yeah, exactly, man. And I think, back to that point again, just that longevity is such a huge thing. And if you're not investing in yourself now and you're not taking the time to learn them essential skills and stuff like that, if you're one of the lucky people that do get through to that level, I say lucky if they're people who aren't working and they're buying tracks and, you know, stuff like that. And if you're lucky enough to get to that level, how the fuck are you going to sustain it when you get there, man? Exactly. Unless you have this endless supply of money and stuff like that. But, you know, I think people are real these days, man. Like, they're seeing through the Instagram editing bullshit. Like, no one's, like, looks like that in real life and stuff like that. And they're going to see straight through you not producing music as well. Yeah. So, I think it's crazy. So start now. Investing in yourself, build up, and that's exactly what we're doing, is investing in this. And, you know, while building ourselves and still building J-Dub, like, I haven't lost focus on the J-Dub brand at all, and it's still a very high priority for us both. It's just, we just got to do double the amount of work now, so we're going to do both J-Dub and also, which is kind of cool. So it keeps us honest, I think. So
9 to 5, and then 5 till 9.
Yeah, exactly.
Classic work day.
It is, bro. It is. It doesn't really stop. So it's really good, man. But I think for a first episode, sort of like recapping on that, like, I think that was a pretty solid start, man.
Yeah, 100%. Well, cheers for the chat. I know we have these unofficially all the time, so it's good to actually sit down and maybe record one, because we have rants and all sorts of stuff. We've kept them pretty tame, which is good.
Yeah, I'd like to think we kept this pretty tame. I hope this didn't sound like just a bitch session. If you take anything from this, I hope you take a little bit of inspiration, and maybe it was the kick up your ass you need to, you know, stop making excuses or stop blaming something. And we're definitely not inspirational speakers, man, but we're just speaking from a place that we truly believe is, the change that we want to see in the industry.
Yeah, 100%. I think, we're just trying to provide value and, give tips and tricks where we can. And, we're still learning too. We don't know everything. And, we say, maybe this might not be the best option, but who knows? It could be in a week. Things change. So, take this with a grain of salt. I hope you enjoyed the episode. And we're going to be providing content like this, bringing on guests all the time. So
hell yeah. And if you disagree with this and you have a better outlook or anything, please let us know in the comments. Like I'd love to hear some different perspectives or your biggest takeaway, like what you enjoyed most about this. Drop it in the comments below so other people can get value from this as well. That's for our YouTube one, but this will also be on Spotify and Apple Music, hopefully, if we can integrate that. But for right now, it's on YouTube. So thank you guys so much for tuning in.
Cheers for watching, and we'll catch you on the next podcast episode.
Gang.